Hello, modern mystic. This is Piero. I understand what you're saying, that it's just one brain, a materialist view. But to me, you're applying the dualist criteria after having changed your model from dualism to a materialism. So the brain is the behavior, yes. You're saying that for there to be free will, dualism would have to be true, and you've decided dualism is false. Well, I also believe dualism is false. But that doesn't mean that there's no free will. It just means you don't need dualism for free will. It's kind of like this. Let's say I have a theory, and I'm an ancient primitive person or something, and I have a theory that the sun is pulled through the sky. It's a fiery chariot, and it's pulled through the sky by flying horses. Well, later on, when somebody realizes that no, it's not pulled through the air by flying horses, that doesn't mean the sun doesn't exist. But how would it go anywhere? It has no way to move through the sky, so therefore it doesn't exist. Well, we just hadn't figured out celestial mechanics. But the sun still exists, and celestial mechanics is still there to figure out. The mechanism and the phenomena of free will is still there to be discovered. Now, I'm a little bit more on your side than has been apparent from me arguing with you because, for example, I really liked one of my favorite philosophers analyzed the cogito, Descartes' cogito. I think, therefore I am, and pointed out that, I think is an assumption. In reality, we are just as likely to be the result of thought as the cause of it. And that's what I believe. I believe the conscious mind is the result of thought, and I don't believe it is the true source of the will. But that doesn't mean that the will doesn't exist. Okay, this mechanism as one thing, as a non-dualistic thing, still has this phenomena of will associated with it that requires explanation. Saying it doesn't exist because you have a hybrid understanding, you have a modern understanding regarding dualism, but an antiquated understanding regarding will requiring dualism, will requiring a soul, will requiring something separate from the body that's controlling it. No, the body is controlling itself. Fine. I don't see how you get from denying dualism to your assumption, really, it looks like to me, that free will can't exist. Free will does not require a metaphysical soul. That's my guess, because I don't think there is a metaphysical soul for it to rely on if it wanted to require that. I'm also really surprised and tired isn't the right word, because I'm definitely interested in it and willing to continue to talk about it, but I'm severely confused by all of you that are saying there's no evidence for free will. We have that evidence every day when we think we're making choices. Cause and effect, on the other hand, is an abstraction that does not fit the regular world nearly as well as we think. The evidence for our concept of cause and effect, some sort of mechanism of time, and one thing leading to another. Yeah, but our actual concept of cause and effect, for one, we separate cause and effect when really they happen at the same time. If I'm moving this around and it's moving. Look, it's moving as I'm causing it to move. I don't do this, the cause, and then, it's moving on its own. No, they actually happen at the same time. So right there, the idea of cause and effect as separate things, well, really cause and effect are joined. They happen coincident. So, our abstractions of cause and effect need a lot of work. So does our concept of will, no doubt. I'm not willing to get rid of either one, but I'm certainly not going to believe that we've really demonstrated that our abstractions about energy transfer that we call cause and effect are somehow more well-founded than our daily experiences of making decisions and choices. and as I've said before, I mean, just to be honest, I don't want to be insulting, but just to be honest, denying that you have will to me is like a philosophical suicide. I don't understand why it seems like a negation philosophy, where you're giving up your one freedom as a living creature. Um, so I admit I have a bias in that respect of it seems to me that there's reasons of mental health not to give up this concept. But I still would. I'm into hard truths, and if somehow it could be demonstrated to me, I would not believe in it anyway, just because it seems life affirming. But it does raise the bar. You can't just tell me, well, I can't think of a way for free will, and there's no evidence of it. I mean, I have a daily experience of it. It requires an explanation. Saying you can't think of an explanation just means that I got to go get an explanation elsewhere. It doesn't mean that, oh, well, then there can't be one. I mean, I've known people to not be able to explain things right away. If you want to pretend it doesn't exist, then you're going to say you're not even going to try to explain it, right? So that's not really too acceptable to me. So yeah, I get it. I agree with you. There's no dualism. That doesn't mean that there's no free will. Unless we're going to get to this point where it really is about free will. Because I don't believe in free will, I believe in willpower. Nothing is totally free. That's one of these absolute terms I don't use in my system of philosophy. But there is willpower. So, I mean, when we say free will, we're talking about the ability to make some choices as we appear to be making. Oh yeah, and another note on that from the same philosopher. Our ideas of cause and effect, according to this philosopher, and I'm not going to say the name, I'm not arguing from authority, it's just an idea for you to consider. Our ideas of cause and effect look like they come from generalizations of the will. See, the will seems to be building up this idea, I'm going to walk to the park, and then we end up walking to the park. This is where our idea that cause precedes effect. It's from the will. Cause and effect in the physical world looks much different from that. So if our idea, the one we use, the imperfect one, remember, all our ideas about the world are imperfect, including cause and effect. If our idea of cause and effect comes from an abstraction of our experience of our will, then you can't use it to deny the will, can you? Because it's dependent. Okay, and finally, one more thing I'll just tack onto this video rather than making a separate video. I was discussing this with somebody in the meat space here in the real world, so to speak. And it occurred to me really a way of putting my position. It seems like your guys' position is that we seem to have free will, but really we're just like machines. And they don't have free will, so we don't have free will. But I would put this to you. Okay, we are really just like machines. But we do have free will. The machines just appear not to.